Hey, hello everybody. I'm Major General Dave Francis, Commanding General of the Aviation Center in Fort Rucker, and we appreciate the opportunity today to give you an update on kind of where we are in Future Vertical Lift. And I will tell you, as a branch chief, we could not be more excited about the aviation modernization effort with Future Vertical Lift. The capabilities that are being demonstrated by industry are truly phenomenal and allowing us to get after the asymmetric advantage we know we're going to require for large-scale combat operations of the future. And while my two compadres here are going to talk to you kind of where we are programmatically, I will just tell you that there are some extremely exciting things going on. The demonstration of capability that was just done in Project Convergence is extremely exciting and are really opening up doors to help us refine how we see fighting Army aviation in the future. And, along those same lines, I will tell you that while we are going after those material solutions, there are a host of other things going on simultaneously across our DOTML PF. From a doctrine perspective, we are updating doctrine almost in real time as our concepts become reality. As we turn our concepts into doctrine, we're able to rapidly integrate that into our doctrinal process and make sure that our Army is educated on them. And that includes aviation capabilities as well as the other modernization efforts that are going on. And because we fight as a combined arms team, and how we integrate with our fires and maneuver elements as a maneuver force is absolutely critical. That we're looking at our organization, how we're going to organize for combat in the future as we fight division level fights as an Army organization, and really be able to bring to bear the capabilities that our modernization enterprise is bringing to us here. On the training side, we know that as we bring Future Vertical Lift in, we are going to have to modernize our training enterprise, both here at Fort Rucker and across Army Aviation. And we have plans in the works to do that as well, so that we're delivering very capable aviators and aviation units that are ready to fight in our formations out there. And certainly from a leader development perspective, we know that we can't train leaders the way we have for the last 20 years of COIN operations. As we prepare the future battalion and brigade commanders to fight in large-scale combat operations, we're absolutely adjusting the way we train those leaders to be able to handle the rigors of intense large-scale combat operations of the future. And so I would just offer to you that the modernization efforts you're going to hear about today, we are very well synchronized across the aviation enterprise, and we are very well nested across the DOTML PF as we move forward to bring Future Vertical Lift into reality. And so with that opener, what I'd like to do is hand the reins over to Brigadier General Wally Rugen, the director of our cross-functional team for Future Vertical Lift.
Thanks, sir. And hello, everybody. Wish we could be with you in person, but we're all fighting through COVID, and I think this is more than appropriate. We've had a great year in FVL, and I think the greater aviation enterprise has kept all of our signature efforts on schedule and on budget through this COVID pandemic. And again, no small task to fight through and maintain momentum. Really, the first thing to talk to is Project Convergence 20. Obviously, we went out to the Western Test Ranges in fiscal year 19 and did our architecture, autonomy, automation, and interfaces. I would state that kind of fed in to PC20 in large part. Aviation played very large out there, and really what we saw was the power of cross-domain synergy. So we were in all the domains, cyberspace, land, air, and the network. And what we really saw was the ability to extend and transform the battlefield geometry with the FVL ecosystem and the aviation force. We received targets, sensor to shooter, from space to air, air to air, air to ground, and ground to air, and they all updated the common operating picture. And again, this is with prototype, non-ruggedized capabilities, and these capabilities were taken out and fought in a very tough environment. Many of the weeks we're out there, it was at 119 degrees with scientists and engineers that weren't used to being on a national center rotation. So effectively, that's what it was. And I would give it just a tremendously successful grade. The horizontal integration between Army Aviation, the FVL CFT, and the 4 other CFTs that were out there, network which underpins everything, next gen combat vehicle, assured position navigation and timing, and long range precision fires was exceptional. I think the 2 things I would highlight is we with the FVL ecosystem sensed for the 56-kilometer IRCA shot and provided that very low latent BDA. So not only did we target for them, but again, provided that BDA. And then a number of the use cases that we had out there on the penetration phase and the disintegration phase with many of the concepts that are feeding into doctrine. Again, very successful. And don't just take the snapshot of one day, a Wednesday. You got to take the whole out there. And that 6 weeks of effort was a phenomenal amount of learning. I think ultimately what we confirmed in Army Aviation was that the lower tier of the air domain is in fact decisive. We can hide in the radar clutter. We can show up because we are vertical lift in a place and time of our choosing that disrupts the enemy decision cycle in a very large part. And when we fully leverage other people's fires, other people's sensors, again, we are an asymmetric advantage for our ground force. When you look at the programs, and I'll let Rob Berry, I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, but we're driving on FLRAA. Requirements, discipline has been maintained. Happy to report to the force. We went through a tremendous trades analysis in the competitive demo and risk reduction phase. And again, kept our discipline. And that was a discipline across the aviation enterprise. So all the 6-pack involved. FARA coming up on that as well as we get industry's final designs in this November for the FARA competitive prototype. You're going to see that we maintain our discipline when it comes to requirements. And I think what you're seeing with that is both in the Army, OSD, and Congress, they appreciate that discipline, and the resourcing is continuing on. For our modular open system approach, I would tell you that a peek into the window of the power of MOSA was Project Convergence 20 and our A3i Gray Eagles. So our architecture, autonomy, automation, and interface Gray Eagles. We had 27 technologies on Gray Eagle that were not integrated by the OEM. And that's what we want. We want to upgrade at the pace of technology. We want to work through airworthiness release that is segregated from our flight critical. And we want to own, more of the IP and more of that process. It gets after affordability, but it also, more importantly, gets after lethality. And we're after both. We want overmatch within our budget. And that's the last thing I'll talk to is affordability. We are maintaining our affordability goals within FVL and within our portfolio. We've built a lean, cost-conscious program. And I tell you, everybody at every echelon understands that affordability is primary in this program. If we want this capability for the next generation, we got to keep it in the box. And with that, I'll throw it over to my wingman, Rob Berry.
Thanks for that, General Rugen and General Francis. A pleasure to be with everyone today and look forward to this opportunity to update you on how here in Program Executive Office Aviation, how we're taking these concepts and visions and requirements between Fort Rucker and the CFT and working collectively towards delivering capability rapidly and affordably, as you heard both General Francis and General Rugen talk about. So I'll touch on a couple of how specifically PEO Aviation aligns into modernization activities, and I'll start with the Future Long-Range Assault Aircraft, FLRAA. We've really working collaboratively across the enterprise. As General Rugen mentioned, we flipped the normal timeline for how we do material acquisition on its end, right? So specifically, we've been able to come in with some broad sets of concepts and requirements that the government's desiring. We've flown them in demonstration. We've then taken those and codified them a little more succinctly, provided them to industry, and then formally received back from industry. Here's feedback on how that would integrate into a larger ecosystem, and here's what it would afford. And through that process, as General Rugen mentioned, we've been able to refine the requirement with a focus on affordability and execution. And that's really puts us in fantastic shape in 21 as we go out with a request for proposal. And then in 22, as we make a down select and move into a program of record. Really, previously, certainly in my experience, I've not witnessed anything where we've really been able to understand, eyes wide open, what we're asking for and what it's going to cost. So we're excited about the opportunity that's presenting. So FLRAA was one. General Rugen had mentioned FARA as well. And behind it, we're going to use a lot of the lessons that we've learned in FLRAA in FARA as we continue to evolve that requirement, use a lot of those same positive thoughts, positive requirements, understanding how through a lens of affordability, how they all fit together. So excited about FARA as well. Future Tactical UAS is another case where we're actually bringing material to the soldiers in conjunction with General Francis and General Rugen. So specifically in the case of the Future Tactical UAS, this will be a replacement for Shadows out there in the DCTs. And it was specifically targeted to answer, a question: can we have a runway independent solution that delivers capability similar to Shadow, does it in a way that's less acoustically noisy, right, and is more transportable rapidly with those kind of simple concepts? Very rapidly from initial capability to in the hands of soldiers was less than 2 years, right? Working with the CFT and across the enterprise. So we have 5 units now that have 4 different vendor proposals for Future Tactical UAS in the hands of soldiers using them. And all of that is going to lead to utilization in a CTC by the soldiers and then feedback to the government to say, hey, how are we going to document this requirement using all of the input that we have from soldier touch points? So very excited about that. And again, a very new way of doing things. And we think it's going to lead to a more rapid and a more affordable and significantly more tailored to what our requirements are when we come out with this final solution. So that's Future Tactical UAS. A fourth line there is the Improved Turbine Engine Program. So ITEP is a 3,000 shaft horsepower engine. In the near term, is going to be used to power FARA, our Scout attack aircraft. So we are on schedule. We've worked through a lot of COVID challenges. We have not done anything like a critical design review to the scope and magnitude of the ITEP program, and they were able to complete that in July on time. We've worked with our industry partners and have worked through a lot of these challenges on scheduled timing, and are confident in fourth quarter 21, our first engine to test for ITEP, and then leading to a FY23 first flight for FARA. Additionally, ITEP will go onto our enduring fleet, Apache and Blackhawks as well. Near-term priority there, of course, is on FARA. So ITEP in good shape. And the last one I'd like to touch on, General Rugen had mentioned our modular open system approach, and it's absolutely 100% at the top of our list from a what do we need to do to maintain affordability of the broad aviation fleet and to continue to be able to evolve requirements over time. It's at the top of our list. So General Rugen mentioned A3I, and that is a fantastic capability. And I think we played witness to what they've been able to do out at Project Convergence on that. As a bridge on both enduring fleet towards the future fleet, bringing this architecture to the table, the Aviation Mission Common Server is a development effort we have underway that will start on the enduring fleet, and we see it as a bridge to future capability, as a gateway to allow the hosting of applications and software processes independent of our original equipment manufacturer. So we don't have to go back to all of our prime manufacturers. Instead, we can rapidly integrate capability onto the enduring fleet today using AMCS as a host to bring that software on board. So it really requires governance, requires understanding the business case for how that's going to happen, and then just good old school getting after it. And that's what we're doing across the enterprise is putting our head down, committing towards that. Open system architecture and open system approach, we will acknowledge is going to be the hardest thing we do. But as I said before, I think it's one of the most important things we're going to do to maintain the affordability and effectiveness of the future fleet so that we can continue to evolve capability in a new way, very different than how we've done in the past. So I want to touch on those real quick. And General Francis, I'll turn it back over to you, sir. And again, appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone today.
All right, thanks, General Rugen and General Barry. I appreciate the update and the incredible work that's going on across the enterprise, because Army Aviation is on a fantastic glide slope right now with affordable leap ahead technology that is informing how we fight in the future, and it's informing our doctrine, how we're going to organize for combat, all in time, and how we train our force. We're actually training right now to be able to participate in large-scale combat operations in a safe, deliberate way. We're doing that in our operational force and how we do training at the institution as well. And so as we look across the dot mill PF, we are on a great glide slope as future vertical lift and its technologies are introduced to the force to be able to rapidly bring those into our formations and immediately employ them and fight. And how we do that and how we integrate those things is part of our thinking right now. And I'm supremely confident that we are going to be ready when future vertical lift comes to the plate to be immediately able to up our game in Army Aviation and take advantage of the absolutely transformational technology and capability that these two gentlemen are bringing into the force. So thank you all very much, and we appreciate the time today.